All right, welcome back to the Ottawa Studios of Inside My Canoe Head. I am your host, Dr. D. Today, we are going to talk about designing a simple life because the lesson is clear, my friends. Your life path will be chosen. It might as well be chosen by you. So sit back, grab yourself your favorite beverage. Let's get at her. All right, welcome back to this series as we bounce back and forth between some pretty incredible preparedness advice and how to adopt a prepared life in getting ready for the coming calamities that will strike us in the 2020s and into the 2030s, and as well taking a reflection and a look on the fact that we have this incredible opportunity called life in front of us, and it's up to you and I to design that, and that's the subject of today's podcast episode. I've talked around the issue several times in some previous episodes, way back in episodes, seasons 4 and 5, way back in 2021 and early 2022, and talked about the idea that, listen, the reality is simple. As I said in the opening statement, like, your life choices will be made. You might as well make them. Because if you don't make them, somebody else will, or external factors will force you in a certain direction. And we often say to ourselves, what would I love to do if nothing else mattered? Have that fun little exercise of saying, this is what I would do if I didn't have anything else to worry about. And the answer we throw back to you is, well, why aren't you doing that? Like, seriously, why aren't you doing that? Like, I've read a lot of material on social sciences, and one of the most impactful studies that was done was a study that went to look and spoke to about 30,000 palliative care clients. So these are humans in the very last weeks of life, and they're gone to palliative care to get comfort as they expire. Really that simple. But this individual had asked a series of questions to a total of about 30,000 through all the different interviewers. And the end result was, what are the number one regrets of the dying? Right? Everybody wants to know that. Everybody's probably heard the answer 5 times over, but the number one regret is that I didn't have the courage to live the life that I wanted. Instead, I lived the life that other people told me was appropriate for me. It was good for me. It would be helpful to me, or this is what you're supposed to do. Right? If that's the number one regret of the dying, why then are we not informing ourselves with that kind of data and information? It's really not that complicated to be certain, right? So, but here you are. A lot of the times when people have this reflection, you're at a point in life where you're tired, you're exhausted, you're worn out, you just can't keep up with 1,000,001 things that you're tied to, and you just don't understand how this can be an amazing, awesome life when you feel the way you do. Often you're way down a rabbit hole in a certain way that is juxtaposed to what you would choose had you had a blank whiteboard to craft it. The difficult choice for humans is to make the transition. It's not necessarily to sit down and lay out what that design life looks like, but it's that transition period that is the most difficult for people. Because if you want to do something to earn an income other than what you're doing, and it earns less money, but it brings you more joy, but you've already saddled yourself with a mortgage, car payments, RRSPs, kids' education funds, etc., it's very, very difficult, if not financially impossible, to make that leap. So it's not necessarily the idea of figuring out what it is you want to be. It's the idea and the avoidance behavior that comes in when you see how difficult that challenge is actually going to be for yourself. And so when we look at about simplifying your life, I'm going to take you through my journey of how I chose to make the transformation to what I thought would be my retirement. Now, life continues to send you curveballs. Things continue to happen. But the idea is you're setting up the frame. So you're doing the things that bring you joy and happiness while meeting your responsibilities. And it goes back to, if you follow me for a while, you understand that I follow the mantra that there are 3 rules in life, right? Our lives here on this earth, however long they may be, are governed by 3 essential rules. Number 1 is, don't be a burden to society. It essentially means that you need to pay your own way. So whatever it is you decide to do, whether you want to be an artist, a barista, a lawyer, a trauma surgeon, it doesn't matter, but it is your responsibility to pay your own way and not to be a financial burden to the society. The second one is to be a good person. That means that you've agreed to live in a country, because once you reach the age of 18, the age of majority, you are free to leave the country if you choose to not live there any longer. If you choose to live in the country you're in, you follow the rules. That means you obey the law. You're a good citizen. You do what the collective laws say you can do, and you avoid doing what they say you can't do. Now, if you disagree with them, feel free to protest in anger within the laws of the country, but you remain a good citizen. And if in the end, if these laws are something you vehemently oppose and can't live under, then you simply leave and go to a country who has a better set of laws that reach you. And the third one is you leave it a better place than you found it. It's very much like the Robert Service motto in No Trace Camping, in that you leave it better than you found it. It means simply you're going to contribute something to your community to make your community better, so it will be in a better position than when you arrived, right? And if each one of us as humans follow those three rules, society works incredibly well. So understanding that, when you look at the world of designing your simple life, and again, this happened to me when I retired from the military, and I was faced with, what do I do next, right? I was in my late 40s. I wasn't anywhere near an appropriate or even wanted to retire from working or anything. So the point was, on a part-time basis, what did I want to do to follow those three rules, to make sure I could pay my own way, to make sure that I followed the set of rules and didn't do something illegal, and that I was going to contribute to my society to make it a better place. Well, I realized there was really three things that got me fired up every day. And that was, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. When you're in the military, everything is dictated for you. You get very comfortable in that lifestyle, and you very much understand it. You learn how to navigate it. You learn how to operate within it. Stay within the rules, but exploit whatever opportunities can show up. You get very good at that. And a lot of people who stay in different companies for a long period of time understand the culture so well that they become part of the culture. Everybody tells you what to do in the military. If you can't accept that, you're in the wrong business, right? Where I worked, who I worked for, what I worked on, when my vacation was, where my family lived, all these things were dictated by my employer, right? I never wanted to work for another human being again. I never wanted to answer to a single supervisor until the day I exited this earth. I was absolutely adamantly clear. After 28 years, I had had enough of that. So I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Now, I did not know what that meant or in what field. I just know that when I transitioned from the military and went into part-time work, which was the extent of what I can do, when I went into part-time work, what would that look like? I would be running the show. I would create an entrepreneurial journey, and I'll talk about that in a bit. The second thing was I wanted to be a published author. I wanted a book available for purchase on a really cool subject that I was interested in, that I had taken the time to author, edit, and publish. What an incredible opportunity. That was very important to me. And the last one is I wanted to be a professor, right? I wanted to be a lecturer, a primary role professor in a graduate studies program. Graduate or undergraduate, preferably graduate, but I wanted to be a professor. Those are the three things that I wanted to do after leaving a job as a supply chain manager, Army logistics officer in the Canadian military. Okay, very different ideas of where I wanted to go, but this was the opportunity to lead the life that I wanted, to lead the life that would have no regrets, that I would try these things, and whether they were successful or not, I would be able to look myself in the mirror to say, hey, listen, I gave it a shot at what I wanted to do, and this was the outcome, right? In the end, it works out to be, there's an old adage that says, success or failure, either outcome will be my fault. And the point is that whether I succeeded or failed, I wanted to make sure that it was my responsibility and I was the one for the reason for the success, or I was the reason for a failure. But a lot of other things is like, what am I going to do with my spare time, right? And I had to think about that. Through a lot of my 30s and early 40s, I tried numerous number of sports, numerous number of activities, and I had collected a massive amount of possessions related to a whole bunch of different things. And I sat down and I said, realistically, what brings me joy? What did I want to do in my spare time? When I wasn't working part-time, what did I want to do? What did that world look like when I wasn't working on those three things I talked about before? Well, number one, I love to golf, right? Very simple. I love to golf. Not very good. I got about a 22, 23 handicap. I'm trying to make it better. I love to golf. I love to watch hockey live. You know, I'm a great Canadian. I love hockey, but I love live hockey, right? And where I live, there's an NHL franchise. So I love going to 15, 20, 30 NHL games every year. I just think it's an incredible environment to be in. It's an awesome sport to watch. I very much enjoy backcountry paddling, as you might have named for the name of this podcast, Inside My Canoe Head. I love to go into the backcountry, away from other humans, several lakes away from the closest human. I love to fish. I just love to spend time in the outdoors, and I love to hunt, right? I love the idea of hunting and foraging for your own food, and as an interesting way to touch with our ancestors. And, 28 years in the Army makes you quite familiar with firearms, so it's a natural extension. But that's it. That's what I wanted to do, right? Those are the leisure things that I really wanted to do. If I was to write out, there's a whole bunch of other things that I've tried, a whole bunch of other things I could do, but in reality, what really did I want to do? So then how do I enable those, right? So then I look through a series of possessions that I had, right? And the simple life is also about the concept of minimalism. Now, minimalism is around, I've done a couple of podcast episodes on minimalism, essentialism, simplification, and simplified life. The idea behind each one of these is it's not about the number of possessions you have. It's not about the number of shirts and whatever you have. There's a whole bunch of different theories, whether you're a Courtney Carver follower, a Joshua Becker, the minimalist, Milburn and his Nicodemus there. It doesn't matter which one you follow, ideology. Marie Kondo is another one. Everybody has a different framework. For me, it was very simple. I wanted to possess the things that I needed to own so I could undertake the activities that I wanted to undertake, right? I want to golf. Makes sense I have golf clubs. But it doesn't make sense that I have baseball bats, baseball gloves, basketballs, soccer balls, volleyballs, badminton kits. If I don't do any of that, why do I have them? Now, most of them are making their way to my son and his wife because they're early in their lives and they're starting different activities. And so a lot of that equipment has gone, not in the garbage, but transitioned to a different part of my family. But really, I'm not going to do that, right? So why do I have the possession? So I've freed a lot of the physical possessions in my life away from things that I don't do, right? So I have the necessary things to paddle, to fish, to hunt, to watch hockey live just means I buy tickets, right? I'm a part-time season ticket holder for the Ottawa Senators, which I am a proud supporter of. Great team, not so great result this year, but whatever, that's fine. But that's what I enjoy, live hockey, right? So I have the things that I need, and I have a nice Ottawa Senators jersey. If you've ever seen me at the game, it says Dr. D across the back. If you ever see me, drop by, say hello. But there we are. I absolutely, without question, do the things that I love, and I don't do anything else. But when it comes for relationships, what's really important to me, in our younger years with the family, my wife and I never really took Gucci, cool vacations. And now we're starting to, right? So my wife and I, we love to vacation. She loves to go to hot beach areas. I'm really enamored with it as well. We went out to Banff Springs Hotel, which is an incredible palace in the mountains. We're going on a cross-country, cross-Canada Canadian trip on Via Rail's Canadian for 4 days and 3 nights. It's going to be epic. So we're doing a lot of cool vacations, right? But these are simple things. And we plan them well in advance within our financial framework, right? And then what I'm also enjoying, and I think any of you out there who have kids who have walked out the front door and started their own lives, and their home address on their driver's license is no longer your house, you want to spend time with your kids. So I try whatever I can for whatever reason to spend some time with my kids and their families because it's just really cool and I enjoy it. So if you see where I'm coming from, I'm filling my time with things that I enjoy that bring me happiness, things that bring joy into my day and give me reason to swing my legs out of the bed in the morning. The one thing that I didn't talk about so far, before I get into the work and how I did the entrepreneur, professor, and author gig, was my physical, mental, and financial health, right? We talk about that in emergency preparedness training. It's the first thing that you have to do after you accept personal responsibility for your outcomes, is understand that you're only going to be as good as your physical, financial, and mental health allows you to be in the times of crisis and chaos. And those crisis and chaos sometimes can be rapid onset, sudden events. Here you are. And you come as you are, and you're going to have to deal. So if you're stressed out, overweight, unfit, and broke, you are not going to be able to navigate a significant emergency very well. You just can't. The data supports that. So it's up to you to set that condition and what it looks like. And we got a couple of great episodes on how to set up that strategic plan to get yourself from where you want to be to where you want to where you are to where you want to be on a fitness life. Check out a couple of previous episodes on that. But when we're talking about understanding that, this is back to don't be a burden to your society. If you're fit, and when I mean reasonably fit, I just mean reasonably healthy for your lifestyle, for your age, right? If everybody's going to have a little bit of stress and anxiety, but you have emotional intelligence, which means you are capable of regulating your state, and whether you're angry, sad, or mad, you're able to regulate that. As a guy is famous for a clip that's going around on the internet says, I don't have bad days. I might have bad moments. I might even have a bad hour, but I don't have bad days, because that person has emotional intelligence, can regulate their emotions and get back to a normal state, even when people do dumb things, because people do dumb things. And I've been known to do dumb things. All you have to do is ask my wife. She'll tell you all about it. So basically, you got to get that in order. You've got to put that as a priority, and you got to take care of yourself, right? That's the number one thing that you can do that is 100% within your control. And these are tough financial times. The reality of a lot of the stresses and a lot of the rationale for divorces that happen is finances. Number one, that the couple or the spouse and you are not on the same goals and terms, and you're not traveling the same financial journey. Or the other one is for whatever reasons you've committed yourselves to expenses that exceed your revenue. That's your fault, right? So you've got to basically make sure, and the old adage, there's only one rule of money, right? If you spend less than you earn, you'll never need savings. Listen to that again. If you spend less than you earn, you will never need savings. It's really that simple. So if you take home $1,500 a month, and that's all you take home, then your lifestyle has to cost all in less than $1,500. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, what you do, what you want. All of that is irrelevant. If what you make is $1,500, your lifestyle costs less than $1,500. So that means if you're in a 2-bedroom apartment sharing a bedroom with somebody else, and the 4 of you have the apartment, that's great. My first apartment, 4 guys in a bachelor's apartment, 4 beds in the 4 corners. Don't tell me you can't do it. You just don't want to be uncomfortable. Well, if you'd want more money, you got to earn more money, or you got to cut your expenses. Really that simple. But when you've got that done and you've got your way forward, and this is something I had to do along with everybody else, cut expenses. When I retired from the military, obviously your pay goes down, right? So we moved into a smaller house, 1,000 square foot townhouse. We ditched the second car. We only have 1 car. You make a bunch of sacrifices to downgrade your lifestyle to fit your income. That's what you have to do. But when I looked for going out, number one, I didn't have a ton of money, so I can't seed and, drop $20,000 in an entrepreneurial bank and start a business, right? So I had to figure out what it is that I wanted what was I passionate about, right? Number one thing is do something that you're passionate about in entrepreneurship, because it's a long, difficult journey. Sometimes it's an absolutely lonely journey. And sometimes you're going to work for a month, 2 months, 7 months, 12 months and not make $1. But you're going to have to keep dedicated to what you're doing and adjusting, etc., before you may actually hit and make some money. So because of that, because in an entrepreneurial world, you need to be doing something you're passionate about. Now, for me, this was an extension of my professor's job. So as I had, one of my retirement presents to myself when I left the military was completing my PhD, Dr. D. So the idea behind that was I was completing my PhD in emergency preparedness, right? I was studying individual and municipal and community level emergency preparedness in a modern, technologically enabled society, right? I was studying that. That's all I was doing at school. So it made logical sense that I would be doing a business within the same frame, because it's what I study, it's what I research, it's what I know. I had written my master's thesis on business continuity for small independent businesses, and so this was a preparedness issue. Hell, I've been in the preparedness space for over a decade, doing nothing but research, evidence gathering, report writing, and publishing on emergency preparedness. So a preparedness business was the logical extension. Now, I had to look at two aspects. Really, you can do one of two things in entrepreneurship. You can offer a good or service, right? A good is a physical thing, something you can kick, something you have to package up, ship somewhere. Now, drop shipping is available. You can use print on demand at Etsy, Shopify. There's a whole bunch of reasons, but I spent an entire career as a logistics officer running stockpiles, warehousing, and the movements of goods across the battle space. I didn't want to do that anymore. So I made a commitment that my future would be a digital product. So I would create digital products and I would sell and market them to people. And I would offer my services to help people who were interested in learning about preparedness. I started the business. It's called Preparedness Labs Incorporated. Preparednesslabs.ca is the website. They actually own this podcast inside my canoe head. And it's been going for 4 years, coming up on 4 years. It's about 3 3.75 right now. We're coming up on 4 years in business. And it's a pretty cool endeavor. Have a lot of fun with it. You have to have a lot of patience. But being a professor, well, I went back to my alma mater and I offered, and I cold called. Nobody had a job listed, right? Nobody had a job listed whatsoever. I went right back to the people who instructed my master's program and said, I'm just about completing my PhD. I got about 2 months left. I'm defending in December. If everything goes right, and it does, I will be completely done by January. I want to be a professor in this program. I want to teach remotely online from my basement to students taking a disaster and emergency management master's program, right? Let's go. And it was a cold call. And the cold call led to a job interview. And then it went to 2 other interviews. And then it went to an offer to co-teach. And I just completed teaching my first full serial as a professor. It wrapped up late last month. And now I can call myself a professor with multiple courses under my belt. That's been a fun journey. It's probably the most rewarding thing I've done since I retired in 2019. Is an opportunity to share knowledge, guidance, and direction, and get people thinking, those people who are going to be the future emergency managers that are going to help society navigate through the existential crisis and the coming chaos that is going to be all over the world for the next decade or so until the world order settles. That was probably the most rewarding thing I've done, is having an opportunity to instruct some pretty incredible human beings. It's a fantastic opportunity. And so that was great. I got to do that. And the author piece, the other one that I wanted to be, well, I tried writing a book and I was smart enough to hire an editor. Now I paid an editor. I paid her a decent amount of money, what I think is a decent amount of money. And I asked her to be brutally honest with me. And boy, was she. I was well off what I needed to be for a target market. I was well away from where I wanted to be. And she very politely brought me back to where I needed to be. And she very politely showed me what it needed to look like, helped me with the final version. And I launched my first book, Preparedness Simplified Book 1, The Beginning, as an ebook on Amazon. I'm in the process now of making that a print book. And since then, I've written 2 more books. One is called Preparedness Thoughts from Canada. That's available on Amazon as an ebook or print. And then I have Municipal Emergency Management and Social Capital, which is my PhD dissertation, which is available as an ebook or a printed book. Though I'm a published author. I can say if I do nothing else now, I've been a professor, a published author, and entrepreneur. I've hit the 3 simple life goals that I set upon retirement. That doesn't mean I'm done. I want to continue to be an author. I want to publish more books. I've got some great ideas. I want to become a fiction writer. So I've got some things to learn about that. I don't know how to write fiction. I want to write fiction. I just don't know how to do that. So right now, I don't have time for that. I've got some stuff on the go with the entrepreneurial side that I'm trying to build out. And so it's an incredible life. I have these 3 avenues. I author, professor, and entrepreneur. I don't try to do something else. Like, that's who I want to be. That's what I enjoy doing. That's my new identity, if you want to call it. I'm not missing. I don't have FOMO, right? There's nothing out there that somebody else is doing that I worry that I'm missing out on, right? I'm living the exact life I wanted, right? I have a business. I'm periodically teaching on contract in the graduate program where I graduated from, and I've published books and intend to write some more. I'm executing, and my spare time is spent golfing, watching NHL hockey live. I get to backcountry paddle and fish and hunt. It's my life, man. I get to vacation with a beautiful woman, my best friend, my wife, and I get to see my kids whenever I can. And to support all of that, I only own the possessions that facilitate that. Everything else was purged out of our house. You may not understand this reference, but when you move around in the military, you are given in Canada 20,000 pounds of household goods and effects, whatever they call it now. F&E used to be called furniture and effects, that they will move from A to B, right? Some families have trouble with that, and they have more than 20,000 pounds, like more than one big moving truck worth of stuff. My last move, 5,600 pounds for a family of 4. That's all we had, because we purged all that junk that doesn't matter. All of it, gone. See ya. Bye. Everything that's in my house, other than very few possessions that are of sentimental value and a few pictures on the wall that surround me here in the office, I have the things that I need to execute the tasks that I want to, and I don't have anything else. It's really, really that simple, right? So designing a simple life is not that complicated. You just have to sit down and do it. The hard part will always be for you, as it was for me, is that transition from where you are now to where you want to be. And it's difficult. For example, like I said it at the opening part of the podcast episode, if you make $100,000 in today's job, but what you really want to be doing to bring happiness and joy to your life makes $75,000, you're going to have to make financial choices as a family that gets your expenses well under $75,000. Right? They may be just slightly under $100,000 now, but they're going to have to go down under $75,000. That's a collective decision. A lot of people got to be involved in that, and a lot of discourse has to happen. But again, I go back to that social science study with humans in respite care, and what's the number one regret of the dying? It's the fact that they didn't have the courage to live the life that they wanted to, that they lived the life that other people thought would be best for them or is best suited for them. They didn't have the courage, and as they lay there, young, old, at the very final weeks of their life, they have a significant regret, and that is entirely unfortunate. And it's 100% avoidable. And that's why I've done this and 2 other episodes this season on designing a life, my transition to a veteran. I'm trying to harp on the point that really preparedness is a whole of life, right? Preparedness is a lifestyle, not a stockpile. I said that repeatedly. Preparedness is about you living the life that you want to do, and then using preparedness to wrap that life in a blanket of insulation to protect you against exogenous shocks, things beyond your control that happen to you, so that your preparedness plan allows you to navigate a chaotic world and rock an incredible life. The incredible life is what we're talking about here. That's the link to preparedness. if you are fighting the day every day, it sucks. And at some point, you're going to lose that fight, either from a health reason or some other complication, right? Take control of your life. It's your responsibility. You and your family are worth it. So thanks for joining us today on Inside My Canoe Head. Drop over to our website, www.insidemycanoehead.ca. There's a link there to give me an email at jeff@preparednesslabs.ca. If you jump over to our corporate website at preparednesslabs.ca, there's a comment section there. There's a newsletter to sign up for. I have a free download for an family emergency handout plan. It's a 3-pager that gets you started on thinking about it. The link to my book and my course and one-to-one mentoring, all that is there. But go there, sign up for the weekly newsletter that comes out every Thursday. Get your free download. It doesn't cost you anything. Listen to what we have. And then if after spending time with us, listening to my voice, looking at the newsletters and looking at the free downloads, you decide that you'd like to engage with some of our products, all the links are there. Otherwise, please listening for free. This is my continued part of remember those 3 rules of life I talked about? This podcast is one of my main ways of providing a free service to my community by providing ideas to help create a better, more resilient community, increase people's individual preparedness, which also means increasing their happiness by giving them ideas about how to live a simple life. So thank you very much for joining us this week. Take care and stay safe.